Yo, top of the morning to you, wealth champions. How do you become mentally strong? Listen, man, the burden will never get lighter, but I got good news for you. So let's get into today's daily hustle. And you guys know what this thing is all about. Hopefully, it's going to uplift, encourage, motivate you, and help you get your day started off right. I'm your host, H Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite followpreneur from wealthcreationplaybook.com. And yes, we're talking about mental toughness, right? As someone who has struggled with my own identity for a good portion of my life, especially in my younger years, in a day and age where phony masculinity and what's determined to make someone a man and what actually makes someone a man are diametrically opposed, right? So I struggled as a young man in trying to find my own way and find my own lane. And a lot of times, if you don't display characteristics of being physically tough, it's automatically assumed that you are not mentally tough. And becoming mentally tough is far there's a lot more to it than just being physically tough or not saying ouch when you stump your toe or not shedding a tear when you feel emotional. I mean, mental toughness is is a vast subject, right? But I was reading an article on Inc.com, and I want you. I'll put a link to it in the comments below. And they just laid out a few things that I think can help anyone who is trying to become mentally tough. But I think one of the first things that you have to understand is that the burden never gets lighter, right? That's the bad news. A lot of people will say, well, Cortez, I need the burden to get lighter. Do you need the burden to get lighter or do you need to get stronger? See, that's the good news. The burden never gets lighter. So I do my daily workouts. Well, not my daily workouts, my weekly training. I do strength training 3 days a week, right? And when I go down and I lift 200 pounds, and the first time I try, I can struggle to get one rep. I struggle to get one rep. But then over time, I'm able to get 2 reps. Then I'm able to get 4 reps. Then I'm able to get 10 reps. Then I'm able to add 5 pounds. Now I lift 205, right? Did the 200 pounds get lighter? Did something change with the plates on the bar? No. The 200 pounds never got lighter. I got stronger, right? And you have to understand that that's so critical. And when you understand that on the outset, right? And if you start to lift the 200 pounds and you can't get it, if you constantly try though, right? And you have some spotters, you have some help, you have some support, you have some people there to help you push through, then eventually you actually get strong enough to where you can lift it on your own. So, understanding first and foremost that the burdens that you are carrying will never get lighter. So, why set them down? Understand that you will get stronger the longer you carry those burdens, right? So, you might as well go ahead and get stronger, right? But when it comes to mental toughness, a lot of times whether what people have to really do is pay attention to your emotions, pay attention to your feelings first and foremost, right? Because different things happen in our lives and they stoke different emotions. And it's usually our response and our reaction are based on those emotions. So if you start paying attention to those emotions, uh, and then B, start paying attention to how those emotions affect you, right? What do they make you feel? And then start paying attention to what is your go-to response. See, if you're going to change your mental outlook and you're going to become mentally tough, you have to first understand where you are, right? You guys have heard me talk about the GPS uh, strategy. It works in every area of your life, man. If you are trying to travel from St. Louis to California, the first thing the GPS wants to know is exactly where you are so it can map out a plan to get you where you want to be. Well, you have to first admit where you are mentally. And if that is not the most mentally tough place, it's okay. But don't try to come from a place of pretend and grow from there because it will never, ever work. I promise you that. I spent the first 24, 25 years of my life trying to convince the world that I really was who I was pretending to be. It wasn't until I literally lost my mind, had a mental meltdown, a mental breakdown, and coming through onto the other side of that, that I realized the importance of being myself and accepting myself for who I am. And although I didn't like where I was and wanted to go to a different place, wanted to grow to a different height, it started with me saying, this is where I am. Same way with you in the gym. Stop pretending that you are something else. Admit to yourself, this is where you are, and you start building your body from there. Admit where you are mentally, and you start building your mental strength from there. So pay attention to the feelings that you have in certain situations. Pay attention to the things that trigger those feelings, and then pay attention to your go to response, right? So when you're upset right now, what is your go to response? I know what you want it to be, but you need to assess what is your go to response right now. When you're sad, what is your go to response when you're sad? Right? When you're anxious, when you're agitated, what is your go to response? And then you need to assess whether or not those go to responses are healthy. How have how has it worked out for you to this point when you use those go to responses, right? So you have to always start where you are. Pay attention to your emotions. Pay attention to your feelings. Sometimes we just are living our lives by the seat of our pants sometimes, and that's not always the best. You have to be very deliberate and very intentional with your actions, right? Then you have to identify unhealthy thought patterns because what you have to remember is that your thoughts, right, all stem from your beliefs, right? And then because of how you believe, you have a certain thought process and a certain thought pattern. And sometimes those thought processes and those patterns aren't healthy. And what happens from those unhealthy thought patterns, you start to take unhealthy actions. And if you never interrupt those unhealthy patterns, you will continue to take those unhealthy actions until they become habits. Now you have unhealthy habits, right? Those unhealthy habits is what will shape your character, and your character is what determines your destiny. So when you have unhealthy thought patterns, you have to break those unhealthy thought patterns, and then you have to replace them with positive ones, right? There's a very famous passage in the Bible that talks about one removing an unclean spirit, uh, but that unclean spirit left and came back and saw that the space that it once inhabited was nice and clean, so it moved back in with seven other unclean spirits, right? So what happens is it's not enough to just discard unhealthy thought patterns. You must replace them with positive ones, right? And then you have to make sure that you're taking positive actions, positive steps, steps that are going to reaffirm your new thought patterns, steps that are going to reaffirm your new mental outlook, your new mental toughness, right? And then you're going to have to fight to give up bad habits and continue to replace them with good habits. Because there's nothing like, it's kind of like, and I see this all the time, and forgive me for judging, but I see people all the time hop off a treadmill and then go fire up a cigarette, right? It's like it's like you can start that way, but you don't want to finish that way. Eventually, if you're gonna keep trying to be physically fit, you have to give up the bad habits, right? It's the same with eating. I know people who will eat well or want to eat well and never exercise. Eventually, the two has to go hand in hand. So as you're developing your mental toughness, you're assessing uh, your current emotional state and what triggers certain emotions, and then you're assessing your go-to actions based on those emotions. Are those things healthy? When you default to whatever it is you do when you're upset, is that the most healthy way to deal with that emotion? Right? Is it going to help you get where you want to go, or is it going to continue to cause you to spiral downward? Right? And as you're going through those things and you're identifying unhealthy thought patterns, man, that song that we play to ourselves over and over when we are in that quiet time, what we say when we talk to ourselves is more important than anything that anyone else could ever say to us. So those thought processes have to be discarded and replaced with something healthy. And as you're continuing to do this, you guys are going to hear me say this over and over and over and over. Surrounding yourself with the right people is going to be critically important for this new transformation that you are undertaking. And understand this, man, whenever you start transforming your life, there's it's always going to initially hurt those around you who are used to you being who you are right now. See, who you are right now, it benefits the people that you are surrounded with in a certain way. And when you start transforming and changing, the fear of losing those benefits is going to cause them to want to encourage you to stay the same. So keep that in mind as well. Do me a huge favor, man. If you got any value out of today's daily hustle, which I'm hoping that you did, then I want you to make sure that you like this page. I want you to make sure that you like the video itself. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And then if you really got value out of it, share this with someone, man. Copy the YouTube link and throw it in somebody's inbox. Email it to someone. Text it to someone. Hit the share button if you're checking us out on Facebook, because there's a lot of people who are struggling with the person that they are, and they don't know of the few practical steps that they can do to transform their lives. Also, if you, my friend, are looking for a transformation in your finances, then I want you to go over to www.wealthcreationplaybook.com and grab yourself a free copy of the Wealth Creation Playbook. 6 money killers that's keeping you broke no matter how hard you work, and the one solution to help you overcome those. That free download also comes with a video companion that walks you through some of the practical steps that you'll need to take if you're trying to overcome your financial challenges. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in to this episode of the Daily Hustle. Till I talk to you guys next time, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up.